I recently celebrated my 3rd anniversary of podcasting. I can't believe that it's been 3 years already, that I started podcasting in May 2019. And during that time, I am so surprised by the number of amazing women that I have met and become friends with. And one of those friends is the amazing Andrea Donsky, founder of Morphus and co-host of the up-and-coming Menopause Shift Summit. So today she's coming on as my friend to have a chat about her personal experience with moods in perimenopause. I hope you enjoy it. You're listening to Menopause Natural Solutions, episode 123, Moods in Perimenopause. Welcome to Menopause Natural Solutions, your podcast for all things perimenopause, menopause and beyond. Stay tuned as your host, naturopath Jennifer Harrington, explains how to use natural therapies to find your ultimate health and happiness during your transition. Welcome back. Today I have a very special guest with me, my dear friend, Andrea Donsky. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you, Jen. I love chatting with you and I love being on your podcast and I love it when you're on mine.
That's what friends do. They share and support. And I know you're very big with women supporting women. So
huge.
We lead by example.
Yes, I love it. Thank you for having me again.
Oh, you're welcome. Now, with us, I'm a perimenopausal woman and you're a menopausal woman. So we thought we would start the conversation today with what happens in menopause and what happens at different stages of the journey. So Andrea, would you like to share your story?
Sure. And I think this is such an important conversation because part of what I speak about in my platform, and Jen, the same for you, is supporting women where they're at and validating women. And sharing our stories is a big part of it because it allows women to feel less alone. It allows them to say, wait, that's me too. Hey, how come I didn't hear that from somewhere else? But, okay, I get that. That's why I'm feeling that way. And I thought that's why it's a great conversation to have. So I'm 52. And when I had my 3rd child at 41. And when I turned 42, I didn't realize that I was actually in perimenopause. I started my perimenopausal journey. But for 5 years, I went through perimenopause having zero clue that that's where I was. And when I turned 47, I got my first hot flash. And that's when it dawned on me. And I was like, wait a minute, is all the mood swings and the weight gain and the sleepless nights and all that anxiety, was that perimenopause? And that's when the light went off and I was like, okay, my aha moment, as Oprah would say, right? That's where I was like, okay, I think I'm actually in perimenopause. So at that point, I tried to look for resources and education. And I tried to find people and spoke to, anyone that I could speak to. And I just couldn't get the answers I was looking for. And that's what led me down my journey to create Morphus and to really understand a perimenopausal and menopausal woman. And how can we better educate? How can we better support, validate, and also make them laugh a little bit, right? Because it can be a pretty intense and heavy time. And I think more laughter is obviously really good for us for so many different reasons.
Yes, I love it. So with your symptoms, so you mentioned that you were looking for help. Did you find help and what did you do differently?
I'm blessed to have a mother that I'm very close with. She's like, I always say she's like my best friend. And what started to happen as I started to go down this journey is that I started asking my mother questions because I remember my mother had a hysterectomy when I was in my late teens, but I never asked her anything about menopause. I mean, we don't learn about menopause in school here in North America. I don't know if it's the same in Australia. No. Yeah, you don't learn about it either. And we learn about puberty. My daughter's in grade 5 and she came home this week. She's like, I'm never going back to school. We're learning about periods. And I was laughing and I'm like, okay, that's great. But we don't learn about menopause. I looked at the curriculum. We don't learn about it here. So I ended up just doing a lot of my own research and speaking to my mother about her menopausal journey and trying to get an understanding of I remember she had terrible hot flashes. And we know now genetics play a role. How our mother went through menopause can affect possibly how we go through menopause as well. So I started talking to my mom about it and then just avidly researching. Jen, I'm such an avid researcher that it becomes my passion. So once I become really passionate about something, I will research it 24/7. So I get all the answers I'm looking for. So I turn to the internet, I turn to research papers, and I turn to people, to other women, our colleagues, our friends, women I don't even know. And I listened to them and what they were going through. And I learned so much from all of those resources.
Well, women are probably your best resource to go to, especially if they have been there and done that. They can tell you what things worked for them, what things didn't. But we also need to be mindful that we are also individual and that there may be some similarities, but there's also a lot of differences. And you mentioned genetics play a role. Our environment plays a role. Our different stress levels play a role. So,
100%.
It's good to collect information, and then you can also see how different your friends are. Who's having the hot flushes? Who's having the sleepless nights? Who's struggling with weight gain? So you can, like I said, be validated in your response, because it's all going to be different.
100%. And I love that you're saying that. And it's so true. We're so different. We all go through it so differently. I mean, what is it? Like 13% of us don't experience any symptoms, which, by the way, I always say I'd like to challenge that stat, because even though they say that 13% of us aren't experiencing symptoms, there are over 85 different signs and symptoms. I've personally tracked them over the last 5 years, and the whole list is on our website. And we know that there are some symptoms that may not be associated with perimenopause and menopause that we might not think about, but yet it still could be a perimenopausal symptom, right? So there are things like metallic taste in your mouth, or burning mouth syndrome, or BO, or dry eyes. Like, I mean, we think of dryness, down there, vaginal dryness, but we may not think of other areas of dryness, itchy ears. I mean, things that, we may not make that correlation. And I think that we are so different, and we experience menopause and perimenopause so differently. But at the end of the day, we're so alike too, because so we all experience whatever it is we're going through, we're all experiencing a similar situation. And I like to say that if we're blessed to live long enough to enter into perimenopause and menopause, right, then it's having this collective experience that brings us together so that we can have this discussion. And that's why I love talking to you.
Thank you. So getting back to your journey, you spoke to your mum, you sought help, and now you're in menopause. What were some of your key takeaways you learned during that transition?
I would say, and this is my mantra, I would say the biggest takeaway, and to me, and it's something that it's not the easier said than done, right? But to me, it's about being gentle with ourselves. And I would say being patient with ourselves, being gentle with ourselves, being kind to ourselves. It's so important, because I remember when I was going through perimenopause, and I used to joke around because I had really, really bad mood swings, and my family, to the point where, I was very communicative with my family and my husband and my kids about menopause. I have an 18-year-old son, I have a 17-year-old daughter, and an 11-year-old daughter. And I wanted to make sure that they understood what menopause was. I wanted to make sure they understood what their mom was going through. There was no more shame, no embarrassment. Like, I wanted to talk about it, because the more we talk about it, the less stigmatized it becomes. And I would say that for me, being gentle with myself was a big one, because when I had those mood swings, I would joke around saying that I'm waking up really happy, but everyone else around me, pisses me off as the day goes on, right? I would kind of joke around about it. But I had really bad symptoms, and, for whatever that laundry list was of symptoms. But what I learned was, and I was really hard on myself, especially when it came to weight gain, because I'm a nutritionist and this is what I do. I've been doing, working in the wellness field for 22 plus years, but yet I was gaining a ton of weight and I couldn't understand why. I didn't understand at the time that ghrelin was higher in perimenopause than it is, before or after. I couldn't understand why I was eating so much. After doing the research, I'm like, ghrelin, the hunger hormone, that's why, or that's one of the reasons, right? So I was really tough on myself. I would be very disappointed, angry, all the different emotions that I was feeling as I was going through this. And I would be tough on myself. But then when I realized, as I got into menopause, or I got into my later 40s, I was like, well, wait a minute. First of all, this isn't what women, one of the biggest issues is weight gain, and women are very hard on themselves about it, and they're being told, eat less, exercise more. But at the end of the day, it's not our fault. Like most of it is not our fault. There's hormones, there's stress, there's so many other things going on with our body. So I've really come to believe and really truly believe in the mantra of being gentle with ourselves and allowing our body to recalibrate, allowing our body to do the things it needs to do. So, if you follow me on TikTok or Jen, I'm not sure, are you on TikTok? Because you have to be on TikTok. I got to get you on TikTok. We got to talk about TikTok. But, I talk a lot about being gentle with ourselves, because if we're gentle with ourselves and we understand the process a little bit better, and all that negative talk isn't healthy for us anyways. So I would say that would be the biggest learning lesson that I've had, is to really be patient and gentle with myself as I went through that perimenopausal process.
And I think that's the best advice you could give any other woman, because I totally agree. And I see it all the time. I've actually had an episode about self-care. So you might want to go back and listen to that, because it all starts in our head. How do we speak to ourselves? How do we take care of ourselves? It's so important to treat ourselves with love and kindness and compassion. We speak to ourselves, some women speak to themselves in such a nasty way that I'm sure if they did that to anyone else, no one would talk to them anymore. So, yes. All right.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And it's true. We need to be gentle with ourselves and speak to ourselves with respect, kindness, and the same way that you would speak to anyone else. Right. And that's the key. So I'm so happy to hear you say that.
Definitely. Well, with all this research, what have you done with all this research?
Oh, it's all in my head. So I share it, like I mentioned, on TikTok. So I love TikTok, and I've been sharing all of my information there. That's kind of become my platform. A little bit on Instagram. My company is Morphus, Morphus, as you know, Jen, and we share a little bit on Instagram, but really on TikTok. So I would say that I've made it my mission, my passion, to educate women and to support women, validate women, and also make them laugh through TikTok. And just share as much as I can, because to me, the more we share, I say the more we share shows we care. And the more we share also helps to validate and support women and makes them feel less alone. So many women will comment on my TikTok page saying that they feel like an alien has taken over their body, or they feel really alone, or when they share their experiences, they kind of get this look of like, I don't really understand what you're going through. So creating a community has been really imperative for me to really allow women to feel safe and allow women to share their experiences, what they're going through. And because I'm a nutritionist, and I always say my lane is lifestyle, nutrition, and supplements. So I hone in. I don't talk about things that I'm not an expert in. So I really like nutrition, lifestyle, and supplements has been really big for me in terms of understanding what role does a whole foods diet play on our symptoms, on our body, on our brain, on everything that's going on? What role does lifestyle play? And by the way, I'm constantly learning. So I learn from you. I learn from my community as much as I learn from myself, like learn what I'm going through myself. I always say I'm an N of one. So my own research on myself, right, as well. So to me, I would say that would be the biggest thing. And as you know, we're launching a Menopause Shift Summit coming up. So I would say that's another place where we're sharing a lot of our research.
And what I'd also say is, because you have done so much research yourself, you have met so many experts, that you're not doing the summit on your own. How many other experts are coming onto the summit?
We have, I think it's like 42 in total, including you. We talked about the miracle of minerals with Jen. So you have to sign up just to hear Jen's talk. She was awesome. So we have over 40 different experts, and we're talking about everything, like we said with you, with minerals. We're talking about andropause, male menopause. Men can go through it too. We're talking about digestive issues. We're talking about BHRT. We're talking about literally anything and everything you could think of, essential oils, sleep, anything to do with this stage of life. And all of our experts are handpicked by myself and my co-host, Anne-Marie McQueen. And really, we've been working on it for about 7 months now, which is really exciting. And we're excited to share all the information. And like you said, Jen, exactly. Like we research it. We speak to people who are experts in the field, like yourself and other experts. So to me, it's so exciting to be able to share this information, with our community.
So for women who haven't participated in a summit before, what is a summit and what's involved?
Oh, great question. Super easy. So all you do is click on the link. I know, Jen, you'll place you're going to place a link, an easy link for women to get to. You click on the link, You register, you give us your email, and you give us I think it's your email, your name and email. And it'll be 3 days. So it's June 21st to the 23rd. It's 3 days free. So you don't have to pay to attend, but you do have to register. And you will be able to have access to all the interviews. So it's a really simple process. It's virtual. It's from the comfort of your home. You don't have to go anywhere. And you could watch the interviews during those 3 days as much as you want and get all the information as much as you want. And then there will also be an opportunity if you wanted to and you couldn't attend, if you wanted to buy all the interviews. But to attend, you don't need to buy or spend any money.
Fantastic. So it's 3 days, 42 speakers, covering a whole range and wealth of topics. So so who is it really for? Is it for a perimenopausal woman, a menopausal woman, a postmenopausal woman? Who's it targeted at?
I would say it's for everybody, because it's even women who are not in perimenopause yet, but want to understand it a little bit better. But primarily it's for women in perimenopause and menopause. And, Jen, you bring up a good point. I always say, for the purpose of my TikTok page, I always say that menopause, since it's one day, technically, my, perimenopause, menopause and postmenopause are the same thing to me. I mean, in terms of, really understanding menopause itself, or speaking to menopause, and women really that 35 to 65 age range. So to me, I would say it's really for anybody who wants to understand it a little bit better, even partners, male partners, if you have men in your life and you want them to understand, the male menopause, but also a lot of women, will say that their partners don't understand what they're going through. So it would be great to even watch it, with your partner, if you feel that you want to help educate your partner on what you're going through so they understand you a little bit better.
That's a really good point. I haven't done any live events for a long time, but my last live event prior to COVID sticks in my mind because the Q&A was primarily men asking questions about their wives and the other women in their life. We think they're not interested or they don't know, but they really want to know, and they want to know how they can help you. So I think that's a wonderful point to women, invite your husbands, watch it together so that they get a better understanding, because they want to help. And sometimes by just saying, oh, you're going through menopause, is only going to aggravate you. If they could learn different things that they could do, like making you a nice cup of tea, or maybe preparing a bath for you, little things that will only support you and hopefully not trigger you, that sounds like a win-win and a happy household.
Exactly. And it's so true. And, that's been my experience too over the years. And men are interested and they want to understand it. They want to help, but a lot of them don't really know how. And, I'll tell you a great story. I was changing the toilet in my bathroom in my bedroom a couple of months ago. And there were these two men that came in and they came to install it. And somehow we got on the topic of menopause. I forget how it happened or, how it came up, probably because I talk about it with everybody. I probably brought it up, and it came up. And one of the men, the older man, was saying that his wife was currently going through all of these mood swings and he just was having a really difficult time. And he opened up to me. And I said to him, well, how are you supporting her? Do you communicate about it? And he was like, you know what, Andrea, I don't even like to go home. He's like, I am having such a difficult time. She's always yelling at me. He wasn't in a very happy place, but he didn't really understand what was happening to her. So I did my best to explain it a little bit better. And I said to him, ask her what she's going through. Ask her how you can help her. And he was like, well, I've never even asked her that. I'm like, well, ask her that. She'll tell you, and it is a difficult time for a lot of women. Mood swings is a real thing. It's really tough. A lot of marriages crumble at this time. A lot of difficulty in communication and relationships at this time. So I'm a big believer in that communication, that open communication with your husband, especially when it comes to libido. That's another area where a lot of women are having a difficult time. So I think having that open communication is important. And after he left my house and he took my number, he took my TikTok page, and he was like, I'm giving this to my wife because, I think she can really, benefit from it. But at the same time, thank you. Thank you for opening my eyes. And I was like, that's, Jen, that's what makes me happy, because then the more we communicate it, the more we can share, the more people can understand, our partners can understand what we're going through. It's hard for us to explain it a lot of the time, what we're feeling or how we're feeling, because a lot of the time we don't even know. I didn't even know for 5 years what was going on with me. Right. So it's kind of giving that voice.
And you probably saved their relationship. It doesn't sound like they're in a happy place or going anywhere good. So just the fact that they can have some ideas about how to open a conversation and how to get help, that's a wonderful thing that you've done for them.
Well, I hope they get help. I hope they get, the help that they need. But at least kind of opening up the conversation, opening up the dialogue.
Yeah. And giving them ideas. So education is key. I think when we understand things better, we take better action.
100%. I totally agree with you. When we know better, we do better. Dr. Maya Angelou.
Lovely.
My favorite quote.
Okay. So ladies, June the 21st to the 23rd, the Menopause Shift Summit, co-hosted by my wonderful friend, Andrea Donsky. I will be there talking about the miracle of menopause. No, the miracle of minerals.
Miracle of minerals. That's it. We're talking all about minerals.
Oh, yes. I love minerals. So we hope to see you there. Andrea, is there anything that I've forgotten that you wanted to mention?
No, I just think it's important to mention that there are over 85 different signs and symptoms of menopause. So again, if you're feeling something, you're unsure, you're not getting the answers that you're looking for, you can definitely head over to my website. We list them all on our website under signs and symptoms. And I want you to know that if you're going through perimenopause and, right now, perimenopause, again, giving yourself the time to recalibrate, kind of like when you look at your phone and that, that line is going, and we need time, being patient with ourselves as we're kind of going into that next phase of life. And for many of us, as we get into menopause, things do get better. For some women or many women, they still have a lot of the symptoms, but there's so many other things that are empowering as we go into menopause. And there is a lot of positive there. I'm sure, Jen, you've probably touched on that a ton on your podcast. So it's, and I guess question for you, what has been a positive for you? I know that you're in peri. What is a positive for you being in perimenopause?
I would actually say that in my household, I run things. I'm aware that I'm a naturopath and I probably do things differently in my household than the usual household, but the open communication with my daughter, that I've got a 16-year-old daughter, so she's at the end of her pubescent stage and I'm going into menopause, and we share, because I tell her that I'm going through the opposite that she's going through. So I'm more caring and supportive of her because I know I'm going through what she's going through, and she's more caring and supporting of me because she understands that I'm going through very similar situation to her. So I guess in some households that could work in the opposite direction. It could tear families apart. But in my household, we have some deep and meaningful conversations about it. If she's having a bad day, I take her out for a bushwalk. If I'm having a bad day, she takes me out for a bushwalk. So we've found what things work for us and we support each other. So that has been really wonderful for me. But I remembered something else about summits that we haven't mentioned. And it's something that I've used summits for in the past. And it's if I'm looking to have a consultation with someone, but there's so many different practitioners that I can go to, I start to investigate the practitioner. So I might have a look at them on social media, but you never quite know where you're going to click, because I find that the practitioners that I've personally done better with are the practitioners that I gel with, that we're on the same page, that you just listen to them talk and you wish you were in the room. You wish you were there having that conversation. Yes. So ladies, if you are going to go to the summit, you've got over 40 experts here. This is a good opportunity to see who's in the field that you connect with, that you agree with their beliefs, and that that could be a really good way to open up a conversation and to have some consultations, rather than just going for whoever's the closest person in your area, who may or may not be a match for you.
Well said, Jen. And it's so true.
Yeah. Well, I hope to see you there.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Jen, for having me. I hope to see you there too. And come follow me on TikTok at Andrea Donsky. Come have fun. Come laugh. Come learn, and come get supported.
Wonderful. I'll have to check it out. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Menopause Natural Solutions. This podcast contains general information about menopause. It is provided as a guide and it is not intended to replace medical advice. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend.